is one of New Haven's favorite spectator sports this week with the Pilot Pen tennis tournament taking place. And Hollywood has often built movies around America's love of baseball, football, basketball, and tennis. Tennis has been used as a metaphor in a number of movies. Here to share his insights on the subject, Style's entertainment contributor and tennis lover himself, which I did not know, Scott Feinberg. Welcome back, Scott. Love when you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Another little tidbit I was unaware of. You were once a ball boy at the Pilot Pen, yes?
For many summers. It's a lot of fun to do it, and I just saw them, went and visited them yesterday, the kids that are doing it now. So.
I've spent a lot of time out there this week. It's a lot of fun. Your mom played professionally, too? Is that true?
Yeah, over in South Africa where she's from. She's still a great player, yep.
Well, tennis has been a part of Hollywood both on and off screen, really since the very beginning, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there are stories that pop up throughout the history books of Charlie Chaplin having the hottest ticket being an invitation to come play tennis at Charlie Chaplin's house. And actually, some of the people who would stop by were Bill Tilden, who was the first American to win Wimbledon, or Fred Perry, the last British guy to win Wimbledon. And they would mix in with a lot of the people in Hollywood who were big tennis fans. Katharine Hepburn was a tomboy who kind of really took it up. And, you know, it really was pretty pervasive throughout Hollywood, and to the extent that even the first line that Humphrey Bogart ever said on Broadway was, "Tennis, anyone?" So,
you really just don't realize the connection or the correlation. You don't pay attention to those little details.
It's true. It's true.
But the sport has also popped up in more recent movies as well.
Yeah, I mean, basically throughout history, not only off-screen but on-screen, we've seen it. There are examples like there are 3 Best Picture winners. Gigi in 1958, you have Leslie Caron and Maurice Jardim playing on a beach. In 1960, The Apartment, Jack Lemmon strains his spaghetti with a tennis racket.
Yes, and I love that movie. And I knew you were going to be talking about The Apartment. I was trying to think, what was the tennis connection?
That was the connection. I mean, he's not. I don't know that he's actually ever used that racket, but he's draining his spaghetti with it.
Exactly.
And then, actually, one of the examples that people will remember as a more recent one, relatively compared to those, is Annie Hall, where Woody Allen and Diane Keaton actually meet on a tennis court and begin dating after their mixed doubles match.
Right.
So it's really been around. And then, as you said, up through more recently where you have a movie like Match Point, also Woody Allen.
Another Woody Allen. That was 2006 with Scarlett Johansson.
And Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, yep. And a really cool one where tennis is employed as a metaphor, and I know we'll talk more about that, but Royal Tenenbaum, Squid and the Whale. And then, you know, as I said, classics as well. Monsieur Hulot's Holiday with this weird 3-point serve. And just, it's amazing when you stop and think about how many times tennis has popped up in great movies.
Yeah, Match Point, by the way, I was just keeping my eye on that because I'd watched that as well. Yeah. Not your typical Woody Allen film.
No, it's a little darker than most of his.
It is a little dark. 2004 Wimbledon with Kirsten Dunst. That's another one as well.
That's one of the ones that, you know, in some ways it's nice because it's a rarity. It's one of the few movies that's entirely built around tennis. On the other hand, it does show you why there are so few that are, because it's hard to make actors who aren't really good tennis players look like good tennis players, but it happens. You know.
Right, and this is about a professional tennis player who sort of loses his ambition.
Right, Paul Bettany, yeah.
What about Hitchcock? There are Hitchcock films where tennis has played a role.
It's an amazing thing when, again, looking back in preparation for this, to realize that I mean, he had his various fetishes, blondes, birds, whatever. But
and tennis, apparently?
Tennis, apparently. In 1928, he made a movie, Easy Virtue, where his star is whacked in the face with a tennis ball, and he made his cameo on the side of the tennis court. In Lifeboat, 1944, the shipwrecked survivors are desperate to drink, and they see a bottle of milk, and they smash it open with a tennis racket that they find in the water. In Dial M for Murder, 1954, the guy who is trying to kill his wife is actually a retired tennis pro. And then the most famous example is Strangers on a Train, which is entirely built.
Best.
It's one of his best, and Farley Granger plays a tennis star who is essentially tricked into an arrangement where a guy agrees to murder his wife if he murders the guy's mother, and so tennis is the metaphor that is throughout that.
Would you say that that scene, the tennis scene in this movie, is really the most tense part of the movie?
I think so, and I mean, there's a lot of moments in there that are very tense, but the fact that tennis is intercut with some of the more suspenseful things as well, it makes the tennis scene more dramatic as well.
I have to know, were all these things in your head, or did you really have to go in and research?
No, I did a little. I did a little.
You did a little research, because I'm telling you, I'm pretty impressed, Scott Feinberg.
Thank you.
You keep bringing up tennis as a metaphor in movies. What makes it such a good metaphor?
Well, you know, it's interesting because it's often kind of regarded as this staid gentleman's game, but there's a lot of built-in drama to the game. And when you think about it, it's also a really interesting metaphor for life. And I jotted down a few examples, and I'll just quickly glance. For instance, a match is determined not by a single point, but by the accumulation of points over a period of time. It's truly never over until it's over, as we've seen throughout the week at the Pilot Pen and anywhere else. You can try to break someone else's serve, but it's at least as important to hold your own. You've got to be consistent in order to endure a long rally, which can beat you down. And then, most interestingly, I think you've got to be able to accept the fact that some things truly are beyond your control. You can hit a ball that clips the top of the net, and at that point, you can't do anything. It's either going to trickle over to the other side or bounce back onto yours. So,
or in my case, you just blame it on the wind.
You blame it on the wind.
Right.
So you roll with the punches, and interesting.
And perhaps the most important question of all: how difficult is it to be a ball boy at the Pilot Pen?
Oh, you live with the fear of being cut, because what they do throughout the week, they need fewer and fewer of you. So you gotta be careful not to bobble or drop anything, and then you hope that your bosses will keep you around for the week.
And as I said, I spent a little time at the Pilot Pen this week.
I know.
I had my eye on the ball boy and girl, and it's been brutal weather out there. It's just cooling down now, so I give them a lot of credit for being out there in those hot courts.
They take a lot of crap for doing a lot of, they do a great job.
You can say that word on TV,
All right,
Scott
well,
Feinberg.
making sure.
It's always a pleasure. Love
Great to
having
see
you
you.
here.
Thanks.
Thank you.